Marti, welcome to the Tuesday live show.
Good morning, afternoon, wherever you are in your time zone.
Yeah, you're on West Coast, I'm East Coast, so it's totally different. Yeah. But I'm excited because I know just before we went live, we were talking about, how long have we been working together? And I think, like you said, this January, it's going to be right on that two-year mark.
Yeah.
And my hope for everyone listening, and also for you, Marti, as well, is that you have the opportunity to work with your clients longer term, more than just your initial, whatever your startup package is. I want you to be able to work with them for many years because, yeah, we can help them in a shorter time frame, but when you have the opportunity to work with them many years, it really allows you to dive into their process and become a part of their success. And today I'm excited because this is highlighting you. This is highlighting you, where you've come. And this road has not been easy. So tell me about the value that you've received from our work together in terms of the mentor coaching.
I acknowledge you. You're an extraordinary human being to know what we need when we need it. You know when to push and you know when to step back. And somebody described it as, I'm getting my ass kicked while you're hugging me. Because it's always done with love. And so the value is that I have accountability. I have someone that pushes and holds me to my best, helps me bring out that greatest part of me. So thank you for that.
It's been a wild ride. And what I love the most is the collaboration that we've had. And that's not over,
No.
We have this sense of knowing of kind of what you need and where you want to go, and the commitment to each other. Like I feel like that's what the collaboration I love to bring. But it's I'm committed to you 100% in getting you there, and I know you're committed to me in terms of getting there as well, and that's shown by not just being there and showing up, but by doing the work. And I guess I'm thrilled to be your mentor coach and continue and to see you evolve. And I know this is only the start still, and but also for other people, I just hope that they experience the same with their clients. And like I said, I'll circle back to the beginning of this. Is it's the patience to just allow it to unfold. And some people come, some people go, some people show up and fall right away. As as we've worked with a lot of your clients, I feel like I know all your clients too, because we're helping.
Right.
How do we navigate those clients, and how do we keep them longer term? But so I appreciate the emotion. I appreciate you and everything that you do.
Yeah.
So Marti, let's talk. I did a call with Marti. I'm going to reference that call in a second. Way back 2 years ago, I had her on my show, and the title of that call was how to follow up with how to follow up with someone for a year.
Oh, that's right.
In order to get
That's right.
And Marti and she joined my private Facebook group, and so this is 2 years ago now. And she, was interested in, potentially working with me. A lot of things are going on in her life, personal, just the timing wasn't right.
Yeah.
And I respected that. And next thing, fast forward a year, believe it or not, it was a full year. We had conversations, and that led you to me hiring me as your mentor coach. So starting off there, because I want to fast forward to where we are now and the journey along the way, but take us back to, okay, so I'm hiring Jeff. What's going on in your business world that's has you to the point where like I need help with this? Tell us what are your challenges, what are your struggles, if you can think back to that.
Oh yeah, easily. I was just referencing that to someone else because there's so much information out there. There was just so much information, and you were the first one or the only one when I signed up for your guide that actually reached out. Auto responder, but however you did it, because that's how it works. But it was very personal when you said what motivated you. I'm curious what motivated you. And that was a hook for me that it was so personable that you reached out and asked me a question. And it wasn't a question about, do you want to hire me right away? Although I knew that was lurking in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
did that.
information, and you helped me to narrow that down. You were personal about it. So I could actually see, oh, there's a process and there's a possibility of where I can go with one person instead of this overload of information, which our internet has done for us.
Yeah. So you were getting a lot of marketers,
Yeah.
asking you about how they can help you with their coaching business. But it sounds like what stood out was the fact that I actually personally reached out to you, not only through my questions with the emails, but also just talking to you as a person to find out who you are and what you're looking for.
Yes.
So what were you going through where you even wanted to work with someone like myself? Like what were your big challenges? Because I want the other coaches listening to this, like, because some of them are in that spot, but like what were you going through? What were your biggest challenges? What were you confused about?
Well, most of us as coaches, we know how to coach. I know how to coach. I can coach all day long. I've been doing it my whole life by default as a hairstylist for many years and a massage therapist for many years, and actually officially trained as a coach now. What I didn't know was how to do the business. I could coach you all day long, but to do the business part and put those structures in place that needed to be in place to effectively have a business, I had no clue. And you were your title alone, selling coaching and helping coaches transition to full-time business. That was the pivotal point. But what really kicked me into, I'd reached out, and like most of us human beings, we pause and we take our time and we get scared and freak out in my mind. And then when my dad died, we were ready to have the conversation, and I messaged you, said, hey, my dad died. Everything's off right now because I just couldn't even function. But that was also 6 months later, the impetus. That was what pushed me out of my comfort zone fully to say, you know what, it's time. I have something to share. I have a message to get out there, and I need help doing that. And then we started having the conversation.
And that was
So
a
long process.
It was a long process.
Yeah.
And the first thing I'd say for people listening too is just be patient with your people especially in terms of getting business, because that's right.
God.
Doesn't it? It takes time.
It takes time.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I will say this, and I'll put this. If you want to go to my university at sellingcoaching.com, I looked it up. It's call number 54, how to follow up with a year to get a new client.
Yeah.
So that's just a reference point. So that brings us to the point. That's a great way to learn how to do that. Okay, so now we're working together, Marti, and you knew you needed some guidance. So even in that first year, just talk about where you started off at, like what we started to develop in your business. Talk about the structure that we start to set up to bring you where you are now.
I think the first thing you told me was start a meetup group and have a meetup, and I did that. I started a meetup and I had it like 3 days later or 4 days later, whatever it was. And I actually had a pretty good turnout that first one.
You did.
And as of the year, whatever it's been now, 1.5 years of the meetup part, I haven't figured out how to really work that. I think I'm just starting to figure that out after more than a year. And then the weekly emails, which many of the conversations we've had are, what do I write about? My life is so personal and it's so out there. And that was really scary. It's really scary to tell people this is who I am and this is what I experience and this is what I go through. And so it's very intentional what I share. It is very personal about my life and what's happening. But I've been doing this a long time. So I'm very, very intentional about also sharing the solution, because that's what I help people get to. We have minutia, we have stuff that clouds our way. And so we've had a lot of those conversations. I've heard other people say, I don't know what to write about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, sit down and start writing. And I've been doing that now for 1.5 years. 60, almost 70 calls.
Yeah, 70 consecutive weeks.
Yep.
When
Except for when I'm gone.
Yeah, when we started off, what did you have set up with your business, if anything?
Nothing. I had gotten certified. That was it. Otherwise, I had no idea how to go about it.
Yeah, so you had
Zero.
no structure in place, nothing set up. And you
Nothing.
and remind me of this. Prior to that, though, I know you gotten certified, but you had been trying to do some things, hadn't you? Because I remember
I
you
had been,
had a visibility challenge on my Facebook group where you started. I remember you started making some videos, and you're
I
like,
did that.
and that was really a huge step for you.
It was doing the live, doing any video, not live even, just video. Yes, that was a huge deal. I did do that. And what did I have in place before that? I was a part of the coaching group that I went through, the school I went through. And when I hired you, I stopped doing that because I wasn't motivated to go find the information. I needed someone to help guide me. Because I can find the information all day long.
Yes.
But that's what it was about, to finally say, I surrender. I need help and I need accountability. So, and that's where you came in. Yep.
So we started off, you got nothing set up. And so we started to structure your marketing and like you said, your emails. So, and what I've been impressed about you, and this is for a big take home, and the people that I start to interview more and more on these live shows, who are my success stories here with these people, is what impresses me about you, Marti, is you always show up and you always do the work. No matter how uncomfortable it is, you always show up and always do the work. And,
Yes.
and that impresses me. And the results you get on the other end of that aren't surprising at that point, and they always could be better, right? We always have better results.
I always want more.
We always want more. But the fact is the results that you are creating and where you've gotten to this point are because you always show up and you always do the work and you listen to the advice, the mentoring, the whatever. So talk about your structure in your business. Talk like your weekly event, your emails, like talk about your system that we set up, because I want coaches to start to see like this is how you've gotten to this point. And then we'll talk about where you are in your business, all that good stuff. But talk about the structure that you set up.
Structure I set up was I started the meetup and then I started doing the weekly emails and the recordings. So that was from the start. Somewhere in one of our first calls, that was what I set up. And I started the private Facebook group. I think I already had a business page, but I started a private Facebook group and it catapulted. So I knew that loving yourself from the inside out was the right name for it. And but I've been kind of status on that. It just I reached a point and it hasn't moved much, but it's okay. It's okay. And those were the structures that have stayed in place. No matter what I do those things.
Yeah. Talk about, as we start to elaborate on the brand, the structure, everything like that. Tell us who you help with what specifically. And I know that's been a work in progress, even over 2 years.
Yes.
Like every time you come up with a new phrase, it always says the same thing a different way. But tell us kind of like, well, who do you work with? Who do you help with what specifically?
Yes, I actually have had several people who are at that point of they're just so uncomfortable in their own skin. And what I really help them do is navigate through the waters of those emotions that they have no idea what to do with, because most of them are so shut down and living in that negative place. So the title of my gift, my free ebook, is 3 steps to reprogramming your negative self-talk. And yes, I would like to evolve that because I feel like that's just a heavy way to say it, but it's very clear.
Yeah.
3 steps to reprogramming your negative self-talk. We all have it. It's whether or not we allow it to run us, or we figure out ways to hire someone, or we figure out ways to do it ourselves. I needed help. So that's what I'm doing now. That's the impetus now, is to help others learn new tools, because often we don't even know. We know we live in this space. We're not comfortable in this space, but we don't know how to do it any different.
Yeah.
Because that's our whole life.
And what I'd like to point out is and I've always encouraged you with this, Marti, is that, you're doing a lot of stuff, if you will, face to face. You're, connecting with people, and you just we've got to come up with what we've got to come up with to get you out there. And that's why
Yeah.
I think it was pretty much our first official conversation once you hired me when I said, okay, let's set up a meetup and do that this weekend. You know,
I want to throw up.
well, appropriate depending on where they're going with things. And you set up the meetup. I think we had a call like late in the week. And you set that meetup up. Let's say we had our call on Thursday. You set it up on Friday, and you had that first meetup that Sunday. You know, that's what I mean about doing the work. But you did that, and you've allowed your message to evolve, and you're honoring who you're at. You know, and at the end of the day, if you go to Marti's website, and let me bring that up now so people, you know, that are watching can always check that out as well. But helloextraordinarylife.com. It's right up on the screen there, just as it sounds, helloextraordinarylife.com. So if you check that out, you've also rebranded that, redone your website, you know.
Yes,
But,
yeah. I only hired someone to do it. Lynn Coffee. Yeah.
But you can see her offer there, the 3 steps to reprogramming your negative self-talk. And that puts you on her email community. And I encourage you to do that because you can start to see Marti's style and you can start to see your consistency with that. And because I am on your email list. I do that with all my clients because I want to know when they're sending emails out. It's my way of keeping them accountable and giving them pulse, right, on what they're doing. But your emails are heavy, right? You share the deep things. You're a deep person. Yes. And that's why I encourage you. And I encourage you even now, like you stay there because it's who you are.
It is who I am. You know what's interesting, Jeff, is I bring lighter tools to the solution. I know I'm heavy. I know I'm deep. I've owned that. And then I thought about that conversation we had. I thought, oh, I'm heavy. I am. And so I was going to bring a mask or something to wear today so I could show that I could actually can be lighter. And my solutions are often lighter in nature because it's so heavy.
Yeah, so you have
learned that along the way for myself to make some things more fun or lighter because they're more doable that way. If everything's just heavy, what's the point? It's, you know, yes, I'm deep and heavy in my conversations, but when I come to the solution, let's figure out some other lighter way to navigate. So it doesn't always feel like an anchor on your booty.
Yeah. And that's what I've gotten to know you, you know, through obviously the one-on-one and other group stuff we're doing with my live sales conversations group. But you have a great personality. You are fun. You are light. And so it's a nice balance with your message. But at the end of the day, you've just, for people listening, like at the end of the day, you've just got to start speaking and find out who you are. If you can't identify it ahead of time, you start getting out there. You set the meetup up. Part of setting that meetup up initially out of the gate is not necessarily we want it to grow a big meetup group. Sure, if it's possible, but it's let's test what we have so far, right, in the market. Are people responding to it? So through this journey, and like I said, people can check out your website as well. You've done a great website. You went from, you didn't have a website right away, did you? Or remind me.
No, and then I designed my own through GoDaddy. He rolled his eyes. I saw that rolling the eyes because I didn't have the money. I paid for you, and I'm like, let me pay that off first. And when I paid that off, then I said, okay, now I'm ready to do the next. So it was a slow process because I wanted to be able to pay and get things established and then invest in the next thing.
Yeah.
Which is where I'm coming to again. You know, what's the next thing I need to invest in to get moving to the next phase?
Yeah. So talk about that journey from, okay, we set your structure up, right? So you get your weekly emails. Tell us about your weekly live show that you do. Like this in some ways, but tell us about your call that you do.
It is like this, except it's on the phone like Jeff used to. That's how we set it up. And it's every Wednesday morning at 9:00, half an hour. It's actually not half an hour. I start a little bit later. So it's 15 to 20 minutes. And I do a 15-minute or so topic, whatever email I've sent out for the week. And then I open it up to allow people, ask them to share their ahas or their takeaways or their insights. Sometimes people have insights that whatever I have spoken to has triggered. And then, so we have that. And I actually leave that on the recording. Nice. Because it gives testimony to other people that I don't have all the answers, but we can surely find them together.
Yes. So you do that every single week?
Every week.
Every week. And what call number are you on this week?
What am I on? 69, 70?
Okay.
Somewhere in there. Yeah.
So that's, and for people listening, that's 70 weeks in a row. So obviously well over a year going into, like a year and a half, if we'd say that.
Year and a half. Well, actually, you know what? I started and I did like 2 calls and I went, I'm going to be on vacation for 2 weeks every June. We have our spiritual journey that we do. And you're like, so what? Do it anyway. So, so I started. I had like 3 calls and then paused.
Is that what I said to you? So what? Do it anyway?
Yeah, so what? Do it anyway. You probably didn't say it exactly like that, but that was my interpretation anyway.
Yeah.
Basically, do it anyway.
Yeah.
Start it anyway. It doesn't matter because if you wait, you just keep waiting.
That's what happens, right? It never gets done. So if you go to your website, helloextraordinarylife.com, and people check that out, it's under the tab Insider Calls. And I actually just scroll to the bottom to check out, and you actually are on number 69 this week.
All right. Thank you.
So, you're right on pace. So yeah, but the reason I highlight that is now you've got 69 weeks of consistency. And not only that is how many emails do you send to your audience each week around that?
At the minimum 2, sometimes 3.
Yep. So you have 2 structured.
Yeah. 2 are structured. And you had said something on one of the calls about doing the one in between to remind them. So I've gotten better about sending the reminder to come an email on Wednesday morning. And then, of course, when I'm launching my course, there's more.
Absolutely. So you've got at least 2 emails a week to your audience and 1 call a week that you also record, put on your website and under the Insider Calls. And so what have you found that process, that consistency? Where's the value been in that for you in your business?
What is the value? Is that I keep showing up. I get a report 2 or 3 times a week from the playback report that my calls are getting listened to. So over the time and consistency, it's that showing up no matter what, and that people are listening and they know the value that I offer. So it's the development of that is knowing my own value, is what I would say.
Talk about that a little bit more.
When I started, I was certainly not clear exactly of my message. It still evolves. It's always evolving. So I can just say that as a blanket. It's always evolving. But I'm much more clear today. Being able to share those deep parts of myself with solutions. Like, here's what happened. Here's my whatever I did, and here's my solution to move through it. Has created my own deeper levels of worth to know that what I say, what I have to share is important. Whether it makes me important, that's not really what it's about for me. It's about being able to deliver that, because I know if I'm going through it, so is someone else. And that's what's helpful. That's what brings that value. And it's helped me increase my own self-worth. I started from that pit of, most of my life was I was certain if you knew who I was, that you would loathe me as much as I did. That was a lot of my life. And being able to now come forward and be seen, no longer a wallflower, which was never true anyway, by the way. If any of you feel like a wallflower, people see you. People are watching. People told me that. I'd be like, oh, whatever. No, they are. They're always watching. Now I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to get out there and speak off the cuff or extemporaneously if someone asks me something. I just have that much more confident place because of this, because of being able to send out an email every week when I sit down and go, I don't know what to write about today.
Which happens so often.
It doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes, and then I'll go scroll through something. If I don't have anything personally really going on, I'll go scroll through and I'll make some analogy. It's a lot similar to what you do. Some analogy to, something I've seen on Facebook or.
But you found your own style.
Yes.
And what you just said there, one thing I love about you, Marti, is you're always very intentional with what you do. And even your responses, it took me a little while to get used to some in the beginning when I asked you a question, even just like, hey, how are you doing? Most people are just like, oh, I'm great. or good. And you like,
Yes.
pause. You're like, hmm. And it's just like this, you just check, like, how am I doing?
Yes.
And you give very authentic answers. If you're great, you're great. If you're like, I'm okay right now. And even when I ask you questions here, that's what I love about it, is it's just like, right, well, what value did this bring to me? And when you listen to your response, and that's part of the intention of doing the weekly events and having it, let's forget about the value of what it will bring to you in terms of growing your audience, clients, things like that, staying in front of them, all the marketing business stuff. What I heard from you is, and the biggest value, or one of the biggest values, has been just recognizing your own self-worth in yourself, in your message, what you bring to the table, giving you the confidence to do that on a consistent basis. And the cool part is that you didn't have a choice whether you'd get that or not, because you had to do it every week.
That's right. That's right.
Because in the beginning, is it fair to say you didn't have that confidence? You didn't have, when I say you didn't have that self-worth, you might have had it in different areas, but
Absolutely. When I started doing my calls, I'd write it out. My very first call was like 5 minutes. And I'd be like, well, I covered everything I wrote down. What do y'all want to say about it? Because I just didn't know. And as over time, I don't write anything down anymore. I read through what I wrote to make sure I cover the topic I'm covering. And then I say a prayer and off I go. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 20.
So let's fast forward now as we start to wrap this up, and let's look at, so we get your structure, we get your weekly events going. You're on number 69, so you're moving forward with that. Your emails, been very consistent with that. We developed a 6-week course.
Yes.
So just briefly talk about, not the actual course itself, but the process of developing that course. Talk about what the work to fill the course, and starting into those sales conversations, because that's been like the second phase, is getting your structure all set up,
Yep.
getting you out to market, beginning to get you confidence and consistency with your message. And then it's, okay, we're getting leads, whether it's for one-on-one clients that you've gotten, or for the course that I help you develop. Talk about that, filling the seats, getting clients, the sales conversations, because that's the next phase, or we've been.
That's been quite a journey of, because I bust my butt to fill it. And then I think, yes, okay, now it's time to bust my butt in every other area, because I really go crazy on that part of it. And this last actual run of the course is my 6th time through. I think I did it in 2 weeks in filling it with. It's been, the most I've had is 6, and I have 3 this time. And it's by design. I like them smaller because it's so intimate. But it's been a process of excitement, frustration, surrender. This last time I went, who's here is here. But the ones in the middle, the first couple were super exciting, and the couple in the middle were like, how do I fill my course? I'm not filling my course. And you'd be like, just relax. You're doing the work, and the right people will show up. And then this last time I went, the right people are going to show up. And I surrendered to that, and that just made the flow so much easier.
So what's the work, Marti? So, okay, I'm a coach, and I'm on all these emails, and oh my God, and sell your $5,000 course and make this much money in 10 days, and all this stuff about, how you can make money or do things as a coach. But so talk to me about, what is the real work that we've gone through to actually fill a course? I mean, don't talk about the details, but like, take us into the trenches. What's the real work? So I want coaches to get a real picture of what it actually takes to fill their course.
Talking to people. Discovering their time in need. I do a lot of chamber events, a lot of networking events, of course, my calls. It's about talking to people. I create a flyer, bring it around to people. Hey, are you interested in this? Is the timing right for this? It's staying in front of them.
What's the most uncomfortable things you've had to do in order to actually fill the seats, specifically?
calling them. Hey, I'm doing this course. I've talked to you about it before. Is there any interest for you? Whatever that conversation might look like. I've done some, even the people I know, it feels like a cold call. And that's probably the most uncomfortable. Even though I know them, they're my friend. And some of them is straight out said, no, not interested. I said, why not? She told me. I said, thanks. Because, because I'm deep, I'm learning how to navigate those waters of, I call it foreplay in my light way. Really not trying to coach right away and go for the jugular. Just be a little lighter and really discover that time in need.
Yeah. And that's what we've been helping you with. I've got a group called livesalesconversations.com. And with Live Sales Conversations, we've got a group, and that's what we talk about is bringing those conversations back. And that's what we work with you on the most still is just, it's the refinement of your language and how you go about those conversations. And then it's the actual activities of it's creating the list, Excel spreadsheet of, okay, Marty, you want 5 people in this course? So you've got to create a list of 20 people, and you've got to create a list, and you've got to call people up, you've got to email, you've got to gauge their interest, but you've done the work. You've done the work, and it's so uncomfortable for you, and that's why 6 courses. You've done a course every 3 months, maybe
approximately,
right? Because that's what So
I haven't looked at all the dates, but that
roughly, right? So you've done 6 courses, 6 weeks, etc. So, but you've on average, it sounds like on average you've gotten about 4.5 people or so, roughly.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
If we could say 4.5. But that's the work you do, and you haven't shied away from that, and I'm super proud of you for doing that. But I wanted to kind of highlight, it's not easy to do that, whether it's you getting your one-on-one clients, you're doing the work to fill your course, the stuff you have to do, the website, the sales conversations, and let's just briefly talk about quitting your job. Just a real highlight of, you live one place in California, you moved away from where you grew up, and but you were still going back there every 3rd week for 2 or 3 days.
5.
Oh, that's right, for the whole week. I forgot, right, to service your clients.
Every 4 weeks I would go back for 5 days, and I did that for 6 years. Yes.
And there was a point where you're just like, I can't do this anymore. But that really consisted primarily. You were earning some money in coaching now that we started, but that was still your primary income.
Yes.
And just talk about what happened. Just where did we get to with that?
Yes, there came a point of, I'm tired and I need to be all in. I get to be all in. I don't need to do anything. I get to be all in. I get to choose now to be all in and stop splitting my time and energy. And it was amazing to see the consciousness of the people. Oh, you're not going to be gone all the time. Oh, let's make appointments. I thought, really? It was every 4 weeks. So I don't know how that translated to people, but when I finally stopped, it shifted. So now my energy is focused on living here. My mom's still there, so I still go back and see my mom. But I'd stopped working there, and that was freeing and scary because I was my primary income. Even though it was only 5 days, I filled it as much as I could to work as hard as I could for as long as I could every day.
How'd you get to that spot where you actually quit and stopped doing that after so long and still having it be, still your primary income? I mean, yeah, your coaching income had gone up, but what got you to that point?
Spirit nudges me and pushes me and says, it's time. And then I'm tired. My bone weary tired. I know people know about that in their jobs. It's unfulfilling. It's exhausting. I work my ass off when I'm there. And so everything I do here stops. I would go down on Wednesday morning and I would do my call, but everything else, I had to fit it in to get my recording out on Friday. Sometimes that didn't happen. So everything just stopped. Like my life paused when I was there. And I didn't want to pause anymore like that because it took so much away from home. and being able to do this and be committed to this and say, okay, let me focus this direction and go this direction only instead of this.
That was a big difference. Big difference.
Yeah. Exhaustion and spirit nudging me to go, it's time. It's time. And then trusting that, to take that leap.
We did a call on that where it was actually calling I put on the screen. I interviewed you where we go into deeper of that. So it's a great call. I just want to reference that for people that want to hear kind of the full process, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are in that spot where they, I want to quit. I want to, how do I do this?